lower the voting age from 18 to 16. Julie Morgan said it wasn't simply that young people wanted to vote, but that they had the right to vote. The move, she said, would signal that young people's views do matter. Well, earlier in the week, several groups of youngsters gathered outside Parliament to lobby for the change.
Why can't they have a say in who actually, spends the money on what? Healthcare, education, and yet they still aren't consulting us as young people, say about raising the age for education, things like that. Why can't we have a say from the age of 16?
I think it would have an impact. They lowered the voting age to 16 in Austria, and at the last election, 75% of 16 and 17-year-olds turned out to vote.
Currently, young people are being denied the choice. They're being denied the right to have a say in issues which affect each and every one of them. And I, along with the UK Youth Parliament, which I represent, think this is a travesty.
And I'm very pleased to say that Julie Morgan joins me in the studio now. Well, Julie Morgan, the government is in the throes of passing a bill so that teenagers will stay in educational training until they're 18. Most of them won't be working, they won't be paying tax. Isn't this really something for nothing?
No, not at all. I think, as those young people have said, that this is 16 is a very important age because you can do so many important things at 16. And lots of the time you can make very important decisions. You can get married at 16, you can join the army at 16, you can leave school now at 16, but even if you continue, what the government is doing is raising the education age, not the school leaving age. So young people will still be involved in work experience, will still be involved in apprenticeships, will still be involved in colleges and in work. And so many young people will be working part-time. And no taxation without representation is a very important slogan. So, no, I think it's a very important bill.
But it was said in the Commons when your bill was being debated that actually it was very hard to get young people who are a little older than that engaged in the process. So why should 16-year-olds be different?
Well, I think it's very important that we engage young people, 16 and 17-year-olds, for the very reason that they are often still involved in schools or in colleges or in situations where they're able to discuss these important issues. And we're much more likely to be able to engage them at that time than actually 18 and over when they leave home. They're often living in a sort of temporary accommodation. It's more difficult to engage in a real sort of discussion with them. So I think we're more likely to set the voting, the habit of voting. If we set that between 16 and 17, that will go on.
But why don't it just be the middle-class children who are already engaged in all this kind of stuff? You aren't going to reach all the real youngsters that you might want to get.
Well, strangely enough, in all the consultation, it really is just the middle-class young people who are less enthusiastic, as I found it, than the non-middle class young people, for example, who are involved in pressure groups, who have to fight campaigns and who've been involved in community action, many of whom do not come from the middle classes, have been some of the most enthusiastic about lowering the voting age.
Do you really think that this would radically change any party's policy?
I think it would strongly influence party policies, because I do believe that if in an election campaign you were engaging with 16 and 17-year-olds as well as the older voters, that you would be bound to take more account of what their concerns were. I'm not saying that MPs don't take account of their concerns now, because we do, but we would take account in a much different way if we knew that those people were voting and they would seek to tell us their views much more strongly. I mean, I think this is a move towards hope and a sort of an investment in the younger generation, and I think it's the sort of thing that we should go ahead and do.
On which hopeful note, Julie Morgan, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Julie Morgan on plans to lower the voting age. Gordon Brown may be wishing it was that simple to enfranchise a whole new set of MPs to back him up over that 42 days vote.